Okay, welcome to today's pandemic sleep tips. And today we will be talking about how you can use mindfulness and being present to improve your sleep. And I have Rev Darrell Jones with me today. So Darryl is actually the person I credit for getting me into a regular meditation practice. I think it was about 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years already. We were having a conversation at Be Optimal in Glenview, and he talked about a book that he had read that was about the one thing, like what is the one thing you could do every day. He was talking about it in relation to move your business forward, but that really clicked for me because I realized the one thing I could do every day to improve my life as a whole, just my relationships with my family, being a better practitioner, being able to understand and connect with my clients better, was to learn to be more present. And so he had suggested, on your calendar, put what's the one thing and really prioritize that. And having that focus really shifted things for me and made it more important to me, made me see the value and helped me start that practice. So that was why, in particular, I wanted Darryl to join us today. But he is a spiritual director, a minister, and teacher who provides loving and nurturing, transformative one-on-one and group classes. And I've also been part of his group classes at Chill. I've had that opportunity as well. And so he provides spiritual coaching and also works with mindfulness and meditation in the secular realm. And my mom always jokes about the number of ministers that I've become friends with over the years, because I've gone through phases of being an atheist and agnostic and continue to change on my journey. And she just loves that any new friend I make now, it's almost guaranteed that they're a minister.
That's funny. I love it.
So she'll be happy to see you on as well.
All right.
So thank you very much for joining us today.
Absolutely.
And at the end, I will let people know, we'll talk some more about how you can work with Darryl. First, I want to let you see how wonderful he is so that you'll understand why you want to know that. If you have questions, go ahead and post those in the comments, and I will try to watch those and ask Darryl those questions as we get through that. And if you're watching the recording later, you still can ask your questions, and we'll try to get answers back to you as well. But hi, Wendy. Good to see you. Wendy was my babysitter.
Hi, Wendy.
Back in the day. So if you guys are on, send us some hearts and some thumbs up so that we know that you're here. But Darryl, or Reverend Darryl, can you start by just explaining to us what is mindfulness or meditation?
Sure.
And how can that help your sleep as well?
Great. So the very basic fundamental definition of mindfulness that was brought forward about 40 years ago by a gentleman by the name of John Kabat-Zinn is loosely translated as paying attention to the present moment on purpose. There's a little bit more that he adds to it, but I like to make it succinct and clear. Paying attention to the present moment on purpose. And there's so much to unpack in that. Paying attention. I think everyone gets that. To the present moment, because you can pay attention to almost anything, right? You can pay attention to the past, you can pay attention to the future. So paying attention to the present moment in a particular way. Now that can mean lots of different things. Meditation is basically the disciplined practice of being mindful. A lot of times when I instruct on mindful meditation, people go, oh, well, I can be mindful anytime. I don't need to do meditation. It's like, okay, sure. You can mindfully eat, you can mindfully walk, you can mindfully drive, you can mindfully read. The challenge is that mindfulness is almost like a muscle in your body that if you don't take it through some sort of rigorous action, exercise, or practice, then it's working, but it only works at a certain level. So if we were to go for a walk, let's say, the muscles in your legs make it available for you to walk. But if you wanted to run up and down stairs 10 times and you don't ever do anything to strengthen or to stretch or to exert the leg muscles, you may not be able to do 10 of them. You might only be able to do 2 or maybe 3 up and down the stairs. If you were to start going up and down the stairs regularly, even if you just walked, you don't have to run them, and you did a little bit every day, all of a sudden you're engaging your muscles out of their normal way of being and starting to strengthen them. It's starting to bring some endurance into them. Meditation is paying attention to the present moment on purpose in a particular way, but disciplined, where you're saying, okay, for the next 5 minutes, for the next 2 minutes, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to pay attention to this candle in front of me. I'm going to pay attention to the feeling of the breath moving in and out of the body. And doing that repeatedly over and over again, just like in the physical body, starts to do something to our mental body, our mental mind, our psychology, and our neurology, where all of a sudden we've strengthened or brought agility to where normally our mind only operates in a certain pattern and a certain behavior. So, at its core, mindfulness is paying attention to the present moment on purpose in a particular way. The on purpose component is about intention. So like, why are you paying attention? Why are you doing the mindful practice? Why are you doing the meditation? And there isn't one answer, and that answer can change from day to day. So it could be calm. It could be to get away from noise. It could be to energize yourself. And depending on that intent, it kind of informs how you practice. As it relates to how mindful meditation in particular can assist with rest, is if the intention is to bring a greater experience of sleep into your life, whether you're having a easy or good experience and you just want to deepen it, or maybe you're having some insomnia, or you're having a hard time falling asleep, or you just can't let go of the day and your mind races and races and races. Most of us know the sympathetic nervous system, right? That's the mind racing, the fight or flight. We're ready to take action. What do I need to do next? Let me look at my calendar, take a sip of coffee, and get myself amped up and ready to go. I can take on this day. And that's awesome. Most of us know that. The challenge is we don't have a great way, many of us, to shift into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is when we go into rest and digesting, when the body literally slows down from its amped up way of moving. Mindful meditation is basically consciously choosing to move your nervous system into that parasympathetic space. A lot of people go, oh my gosh, I'm falling asleep, or I feel drowsy, or in a class sometimes I'll see people start doing the head bang, and they think they're doing something wrong. They're not really doing anything wrong. It's indicative that you've moved into parasympathetic nervous response. You've started to move into the rest space. And to, again, exercise and practice slowing down, then the body will not only know how to be amped up in the sympathetic nervous system, but then you have this other gear that you can turn into. And you go, you know what? Whether it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 in the morning, or 2 in the afternoon, or midnight, or 9 o'clock, you can say, now is the time when I'm going to slow things down, turn down the volume, not to 0, but maybe turn down the volume to 2 of all the comings and goings and the thoughts that are there. And so as we slow, as we turn noise down internally, it lets us move into that space where the body can go into an experience of rest or sleep a little bit better. The last thing that I'll say, and then I'll step back and see if you have comments or if there's questions. A lot of times, at least in my own experience, and I just had a challenge with this week. I woke up at about 4:30 in the morning, and I had had a lot of tea and water in the evening, so I had to go to the bathroom. I came back, laid down. I still had about 3 hours before my alarm was going to go off. I couldn't. My mind just kicked into that sympathetic, or to the nervous system. It was just like, go. And I started thinking about plans for the day and answers I needed to do and what was going to be in my schedule and how am I going to transition from this. I couldn't stop myself. And I grappled with it for a little bit. And I kind of beat myself up. I'm the meditation guy. You should be able to sleep. You should be able to calm yourself down. And I realized here's an opportunity for me to practice stillness or practice resting. I didn't have to fall asleep, but could I find some semblance of stillness in the midst of all that activity? My mind kept going. And I was able to focus on just my breath coming in and out for a few breath cycles. And then my mind would run off again. And then I would focus on my shoulders, which I realized were kind of being held up, and I let them fall down. And I just kept practicing doing something to shift my attention back to an idea of stillness or calm. And it wasn't about going to sleep. I was letting myself rest. I maybe fell asleep for another 15 minutes, but when I woke up with my alarm, I actually felt rested, even though I didn't, quote unquote, clock more sleep hours. So the other tendency I see with people in meditation and sleep is they're like, I gotta sleep, I'm not getting enough sleep. And then that just adds to the stress that's already there. And so to be gentle with ourselves and go, okay, what if I didn't have to fall asleep and I could just let myself rest, let myself be still. And when we do that, it allows an unraveling. And if we only get 15 minutes of sleep, great. If we get 30 minutes of sleep, great. But it makes the quality, regardless of the quantity, a little bit more impactful.
Yeah, that actually is a great summary of the discussions we've had this week, because Monday we talked about self-compassion practice for sleep, and we talked about just being present with the fact that right now sometimes we can't sleep because there's a lot going on, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And so just being present with that awakeness, and the more you resist, the more amped up you get, like you said. And then yesterday we talked about yoga nidra with Mia Park. So that was another thing that I'm sure you're well aware of and involved in as well.
Yeah.
So one thing you mentioned, I hear a lot from clients is I can't meditate because I can't stop the thoughts from going in my head. And so what I always tell them is, well, that's good, because if you stop the thoughts in your head, you're either dead or enlightened. And to the point, if you're just starting, you're not going to be enlightened. So it's good. That means you're alive, right?
Right.
So what do you say when people say, I can't meditate, my head, those thoughts? I think people will feel better just because they just heard you say you had your thoughts come, and then you.
So I think one of the biggest misconceptions about meditation as a practice is that it is about stopping thoughts. I'm sure if you were to go into a monastery and sit with a bunch of monks, by the way, I'm just bald, I'm not a monk. If you were to go, to kind of the stereotypical setting where you've got 100 monks sitting in a room in complete silence and stillness, and if you really sat down and engaged them in conversation, I'm sure that they would divulge and share, oh yes, there are things moving through my mind. But there's this idea where most of us say we are our thoughts. So whatever thought is there is what's happening. And it can get a little trippy, it can be a little metaphysical, but there's some traditions that will actually have you go through a practice of saying, I am not my thoughts. Right? I am not my mind. I'm something else. And then you're like, well, then what am I? And you get caught up into that thought. So if the goal of meditation is not to stop the thoughts, what is it then? The image that I like to call forward is if you were to stand by a highway, or like here in Chicago, go out to Lakeshore Drive or the Edens or the Dan Ryan Expressway, but wherever you live, even it could just be a busy street, and you were to stand right at the curb or the edge of the yellow line, and let's say cars are going by from anywhere from 50 to 70 miles an hour, you're going to experience the impact of that stress very quickly, and you will notice it in your sympathetic nervous system. Your muscles will start to flinch and tighten. You're going to go into what's considered fight or flight, and it's going to take a lot of energy to keep you at the edge of that road while those cars keep whizzing by. If you were to just step back maybe 10 feet or 15 feet from the edge of that road, The cars won't have changed. They're still going by at 50 or 70 miles an hour, but all of a sudden you've created some space, and your relationship with those cars has shifted. That space and the shift in your relationship allows you to start noticing things like the color of cars. Maybe you even notice the faces of people in the cars. Oh, look, there's a cute dog with its tongue hanging out the window, whatever it may be. What if we could cultivate that same relationship with the highway of our mind, right? The mind is going to keep running. It's going to stop? No. It's going to keep going. 50, 60, 70. Some mornings, like mine the other day, the thoughts were 100 miles per hour, right? But what I was able to cultivate, and what practitioners ultimately, I think, are invited to embrace, is not stopping those thoughts, but creating a little bit of distance, getting some space. You can still see them, you will still experience them, but you're not like holding on so tightly, right? You're not trying to keep yourself right at the edge of your thinking and go, oh, I got to do something with that thought. What am I going to do with it? I got to figure it out right now. I got to solve this problem. It's like, well, that's a problem, but what if I could just step back and go, man, that problem just keeps driving around the block. Here it comes again. And a lot of times people go, well, what am I supposed to do with that? Nothing. And that's where people get caught a little bit. Mindful meditation is not about really doing anything. It's allowing and surrendering. So it's taking our hands off the wheel. It's softening our grip. It's surrendering. A lot of people get a little charged by that word. I like to use allowing the thoughts to be. So oftentimes I think people find a little bit of solace just being told it's okay to think, and that it's normal to think. That's what the mind is designed to do. It's not designed to stop. But we can create a little bit of space and shift our relationship with the mind's natural tendency.
That was really helpful. I haven't heard, I've heard different examples with the traffic, but I haven't heard it described that way, and that's more realistic. That was very helpful.
Yeah, I can't even remember where I first had that brought into my awareness, but it just viscerally, it makes sense. I mean, you can almost go to the space of what it would be like to stand at the edge. Just like if I was like, imagine you were standing at the edge of Mount Everest, like people would, butts would tingle and their stomachs would clench a little bit. If you if you were to go stand at the edge of a highway and cars are like a foot from your belly, the side of your mirror is going by at 70 miles per hour, that's intense. And that's literally where most of us stand in relationship to our thoughts. But we can just have that little bit of change in distance, and all of a sudden space allows for a different experience. And it's not about a certain type of experience that you're, a lot of people go, well, how do I know it works? And there isn't, unfortunately, like, this is the box that you can quantify and check. Usually it's working by your experience of living. And sometimes that may take a couple of times to have some sort of shift or awareness of that impact.
Yeah, I think one of the things that was interesting for me was just the realization that my thoughts aren't facts as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just thoughts.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean that they're true.
Mm-hmm.
Or even just the silliness. Getting that distance gave me the opportunity to see the silliness in some of my thoughts. For example, I have silly thoughts around eating, like, oh, there's chocolate there, I have to eat it, and I feel like I have to eat it.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, okay, well, there's other thoughts that I have, like maybe I'm at the grocery store and I'm annoyed that someone is like blocking the whole aisle, and I want to like ram them with their cart. I have that thought, but I don't do it. Like, right. I don't need to act on it. So why do I think like the chocolate one I have to act on, but ramming someone with the grocery cart, I don't?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
mm-hmm.
And I've never rammed someone with the grocery cart, but the chocolate, that one I just think, oh.
Yeah.
So that was one of my ahas from meditation and getting that distance, like you said.
That's awesome. The other, to your point, if I can just go back to what you shared at the beginning, when we did that workshop and gathering and talked about the importance of scheduling meditation as a practice and really approaching it not so much as like, I have to have this certain setting with candles lit and incense going, like all of that is great, but it has nothing to do with that. Like that's just, kind of ambiance and setting up. The thing is really being able to sit and discipline pause. And any of the studies that have been done in the past 40 years on the impact of mindfulness as it relates to the ability to sleep, as it relates to the ability to concentrate and focus, as it relates to being more creative, even the physiological benefits of blood pressure going down, assimilating sugar better, having a lower and slower heart rate, those benefits were only found in individuals that were practicing regularly, right? If we were to do a short meditation right now, people would have an experience of calmness. They would have a slowing of their heart rate, their blood pressure would probably drop. But as soon as we would get up and walk away, they're going to step back into their normal way of being. It's when you do regular practice, ideally twice a day, and you do that for 4 or maybe up to 8 weeks in a row, that's when you go, oh. And you wake up one day and you're like, everything's a little different. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I can. I just feel better. I actually slept for 8 hours last night, and I don't need like 3 venti mocha froca daca whatever from Starbucks to get my adrenaline pumping so that I can wake up. So it's really critical to embrace that idea that it's not a one and done, that you need to do meditation right once and then all of a sudden you're good. It's just like brushing your teeth. You brush your teeth every single day, twice a day, to keep your oral health at a certain level and try to improve it. If you don't do meditation every single day, even if it's only for a minute or two to start, it's hard to experience the benefits that it does to improve your sleep, to improve your overall wellness. You don't brush your teeth on Monday and say, I'm good till next Monday. Quickly, you'll know that you're not good, and someone will let you know as well. A lot of people kind of laugh at that, but for me, it kind of puts it into a context of like, oh, yeah, this is something I need to do every day. And that's why I always put it in my calendars, because if there's a high stress moment, like right now, in terms of what we're experiencing, I got to go back to my phone and put random times in to remind myself to pause. Otherwise, I'll just keep going to burnout.
Yeah, another thing people tell me is that they don't have time. And one of the things that I found is when I'm the busiest, that's when it's the most critical for me to meditate, because if I don't have the ability to slow my mind a bit, I'm not as productive. So if I'm busy, I can get more things done with breaks, which I think has been proven. And so that's another common thing that I guess a common excuse I hear is I just don't have time to meditate.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone is new, how would you recommend that they start? You just mentioned that it's good to try to do it a couple times a day if possible for 4 to 8 weeks. And you said even if it's only for 2 minutes. So what are some of the things you recommend for starting?
Yes. So for starting, the easy, quick and dirty, no frills way is almost everyone has a phone today. If you have the ability to set a timer, turn on a timer for 1 minute or 2 minutes, sit still and just breathe in and literally tell yourself what you're doing. Breathing in, breathing out. You don't need to say it out loud, but in your mind, and you can do it with your eyes opened or your eyes closed. Focusing on the breath is always with you. You don't need any extra gear other than some sort of timing device. And the reason for the timing device is that one of the most stressful things that we've created as human beings is time. We're always concerned, am I going to be on time? Do I need to be there 5 minutes before? Am I going to be late? So if we have a device holding the time for us, then all of a sudden those 2 minutes can be really powerful and time goes away. That's the quick and dirty, easy way to do it. I often suggest bookending your day. So starting the day and ending the day as a way to kind of parenthetically give yourself some practice to help frame and give you awareness. Because that's the other thing that will be cool to see is how you feel in the morning at the start of the day, after you've experienced your day, then to do your meditation and have another check-in point with yourself, like as you're breathing in and out and seeing how you feel. There are so many apps out there that you can use. I'm not going to point you in any certain direction, but depending upon if you've got an iPhone or an Android, just go to the store and type in meditation and you'll get flooded with different apps. Some of them, yes, I think are better than others. I'm a little, I'll own my bias, since Chill is the studio that I helped launch. We're actually launching an app ourselves called Chill Anywhere. And the benefit of apps, whether it's Chill Anywhere or another one, I like using Insight Timer as well. The benefit of apps is that they're guided meditations. So for especially beginners, to have someone telling you what to do as opposed to struggling in silence by yourself makes a huge difference. To have, even if it's a 2-minute meditation or a 3-minute meditation, someone saying, let's count 10 breaths together. Breathe in 1, breathe out 1. Breathe in 2, breathe out 2. And take you all the way up to 10, you're literally focusing on something in the present moment a lot easier. Not that you couldn't do it by yourself, but what typically happens for me when I'm having a challenging day and when I go to using guided meditation is I would try to do that same practice on my own, and I would say, okay, Darryl, breathing in 1, exhale 1. Did I take the dog out? I can't. Oh, wait. Breathing in 2, breathing out 2. What time was my wife going to be home? I'm trying to remember. Is she going to pick up, and then I start thinking about lots of details and I get caught in my counting or lost in my counting. Having someone guide you, you may still get lost in those thoughts, but they literally, because they're talking and it's not you, it calls your attention back. So that's the best way to start, I think.
And a lot of apps for beginners will say, you may have gotten lost in your thought, go back to your breath and counting. They'll call you out. Usually it seems like the perfect time for me. Oh yeah, I did.
How do they know? Get out of my head. Yeah.
If you guys have questions, make sure you put them in comments and we'll cover those as well. So this is a topic, obviously we could talk for 2 years probably at least, right? And not be done.
I've been talking about it for 20 years and haven't seen it.
So outside of the pandemic, how can people interact with you? And then specifically right now, how can people interact with you? Like what type of coaching and classes and things like that?
So there's a number of ways you can connect with me. I have a spiritual direction or spiritual guidance one-on-one coaching that I do. And it walks and talks like a little bit of what we've done here, but it'll be directly and personal to you. We may use a little bit more lofty spiritual language because it is about trying to connect into a sense of self and spirit and heart. That's where I bring in some of my ministerial training. It's not about a certain tradition or a certain type of religious dogma. It's literally about the principles of consciousness. That which we're aware of, then we can actually have a relationship with. So it's helping people discover what is working and what isn't working in their lives. And then what are the practices and tools, one of them being meditation, that I almost give to everyone, that we can employ to support us in either staying in the lane that we want to be in if it's working, or moving and pivoting into another direction. I can do that during this time, and I've always done it actually over this platform of phones or digital conferencing. I can be found at my personal website is darrelljones.weebly.com, and that's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. There's connection stuff there on mindfulness and meditation. That's more of my personal work, which tends to be more one-on-one. And definitely I'm Reverend Darrell there, because I will have a conversation about what your spirituality is and how it relates to your wellness. Step away from spirituality into more of a secular space. I helped launch a studio in 2017 called Chill Meditation. ChillChicago.com is the website. We have had a physical location in River North, across from the Merchandise Mart, since April of 2017. Obviously, we are closed like other businesses, but we do have online offerings. Every single day, we have classes at 8 a.m. and then one in the evening at either 5 or 6 p.m. We have classes on Saturday and Sunday. We have workshops for those mothers. We have a couple of workshops specifically for moms. So if people are like, man, I'm getting screwed this month, there's not going to be anything to do. You could do a workshop that's intended to help mothers bring some conscious mindfulness into their life, not their kids, not their family. This is for the moms. All of that's listed on our website. And we've launched an app. It's actually live right now. You can download it and use it. It's called Chill Anywhere. And the benefit of that is that it has recorded meditations that you can listen to anytime you want to, or you can actually tap into our studio virtual classes that we have through Chill Chicago. We stream them live. So I don't know what this is going to look like once we get on the other side of the physical distancing in terms of what our schedule will be. We do offerings where we actually work with businesses. We've worked with over 300 in the Chicagoland area, bringing mindfulness in the context of like, how does this help with leadership? How does this help with like project collaboration? How does this help with emotional intelligence, where we don't get so worked up and fly off the handle? That's applicable in any relationship because it's all about relationship. But those are the main ways that people can get in touch with me. I'm also on Instagram. I'm on Facebook if you want to say hello to me there. Darrell Jones Spirit is my Instagram handle. Maybe more information than people want. I don't know.
Well, and you've been doing daily prayers on Instagram as well, so that on your IGTV, you have those as well that people can follow you and get to know you better as well.
Yeah.
Maureen is on too. I don't know if you've met Maureen, but I know she knows Dr. Carey, your wife.
Okay, awesome.
Any questions from anyone? If not, tomorrow I have Sharon Tash, who's going to be on to talk about the importance of movement for good night's sleep. We need to exercise and move our bodies to be able to sleep well. So she will be joining me. That will be the end of this April month focused on sleep. And all of these discussions that I've had have been downloaded to YouTube. So you can go to pandemicsleeptips.com and it will actually link you directly to the YouTube playlist where you'll find all of these. So this conversation I'll download soon, or you can go to my North Shore Acupuncture Center Facebook page, and under the videos, there's a playlist with all of these as well. So if you missed one, go ahead and listen to it. If you want to go back, like there were resources mentioned, I want to catch this again, you can do that as well.
Awesome.
Right.
Thanks for joining, Christine, as well. Maureen.
Yeah, Christine from Florida. That's the benefit of this time, that we can connect more with our friends across the country and help as well.
It's been amazing with some of our virtual offerings. We do with Chill, we have complimentary offerings every day. If you go to chillchicago.com, there's links directly to them. One of them is on Instagram Live. The other one is through Zoom. So if you're not an Instagrammer, you can still have the benefit of experimenting with some meditations and then in the afternoon. But we've had people check in from Milan, from Paris, from all over the country. And it's really fun to have our community that was normally just kind of contained to the north downtown area, and some people every once in a while coming in from the suburbs to be able to connect and help people practice literally around the globe. So it's been a joy to support people, especially during this time where everyone's a little unsettled.
Yeah, that's true. Like on these, there was someone, I forget which countries, but I think there was someone from the Netherlands that was joining right before she went to bed. And so we've had people from across the world as well.
That's amazing.
And Maureen's boss has joined too. So thank you for joining.
Hi there.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time with us today.
Absolutely. It's my joy.
Appreciate sharing this, and hopefully more people will list meditation as the one thing that they want to make sure that they get done every day.
Yes.
Have a good night's sleep, everyone.
Be well.
Bye.